fan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a fan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good.
Yes, indeed, for Hollywood. My name is Dennis Saletti, and this is As the Real Turns, live from the COVID Nebula. Yes, we are still stuck in it, and we are getting incredibly bored, and our hair is getting incredibly long. But that is not going to stop us from doing a great radio show for you. And we've got a doozy for you, because we're going to be doing something that is not necessarily big school film. We're doing more little school. And when I say that, I mean we're going to be talking about films, projects, series, anything that we've had our hand in when it comes to our own projects. Yes, we're talking about stuff that we've made today. Yes, that's actually from a real movie. That was from Moulin Rouge, and that's the theme song that I currently use for my company of Continuation Pictures. So we're going to be talking about stuff that I've made and stuff from, all the way back to all the way now. And we're also going to be talking about stuff from another company called Ramen Head, and we have the guy from
Ramen Head Media.
Ramen Head Media, sorry. The guy from that company, it's my friend Dylan. He's our first guest. Say hello, Dylan. There it is. There he is. He's showing off his symbol, which he has behind him today. And we also have another guest with us. We have been trying to get him on this show for a long time. He's been my partner in crime for a lot of these films, and we've worked together on so many of them. He's a good friend of mine. Please welcome Brennan Corrigan, ladies and gentlemen. Brennan, say hi.
Hello. Hold your applause, please.
Brennan, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It's a great honor to have you here. Unfortunately, we don't have John with us, but that's okay. Brennan is assuring us that he has killed him or will kill him. So, guys, I'm gonna kick it off here. We've done so many films, and Brennan, you and I have especially worked on a whole bunch of them, and we're just gonna be talking about basically our opinions on them. We're looking back on them, a little walk down memory lane for all three of us when it comes to our work. So the first film I want to talk about is probably the one that first I ever had a hand in, and probably you as well. It was kind of a silly film, but it got recognition at a lot of points, even going as far to be in a film festival. We are talking about first a film entitled, it's a kind of a cliche title. No, I'm kidding. It's Cliché: A Vintage Future. So, a lot of listeners here don't probably know what these films are about and what they're going on off of. Cliché: Vintage Future was basically a film that we made for a film festival where it was about this post-apocalyptic world, and this heroine and this hero, they meet, and they defeat the evil overlord of the apocalypse type of thing, and all ends well. And the reason that it's called cliché is because a lot of the things that happen in this, along with that plot, are a cliche. Brennan, we'll go to you first on this. Right from the music there, you can tell it's a cliche, having 2001 in there as the theme song. Looking back on this, what was your part in this, and why do you think that, over the years, I think this is kind of like a fine wine. It's kind of worked out well over the years. What do you think?
I mean, I think that for a film that we produced when we were in, ninth grade, it was really good. And kind of makes me miss Brooke, because Brooke was really kind of like the creative center to that whole thing, I thought. But I had a lot of fun choreographing the fight scene.
Yes.
And so when we did this movie, I was both acting in it and doing this one bit of fight choreography that we had. And so what did I do? I wrote that like on a 12-hour bus ride at the end of vacation, and yeah, because I'm a inconsolate procrastinator, and that was the time I had to do it in. But it was real fun. I enjoyed acting in that choreography that I wrote.
Absolutely. And we were just joined by Christy. Christy Riley. Christy, say hello.
Hey,
Christy, how are you?
I'm all right. How about you?
Good. Hey, we're talking about projects that we've made today, and we're kicking it off back with kind of going down memory lane. And I have my partner in crime here, my good friend Brennan, who's been in a bunch of films with me. We're talking about this first film that I made a while back called Cliché of Vintage Future, where it's basically a post-apocalyptic short film with a bunch of cliches in it. Do you think, just going by that, do you think it maybe sounds like a reasonable type of a film, or do you think maybe it's a little too cheesy?
Well, if you're planning on going down the comedy route, that could be. It could be. It's definitely good to be a comedy, but if you're going down the serious spoof, you're going down a serious way. Well, because you're Daniel Saletti, I'll say that it can be too cheesy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I think Brennan can agree with that. Dylan, this was.
I made myself a cheese quesadilla for lunch. I cannot complain.
There you go. There you go. This was actually a silent film. It was made as a silent film, and that can also convey the clichéness of it. Do you think having it be a silent film worked?
Well, as long as you're not taking it seriously, and I saw the comedy in it, and as long as you weren't trying to do anything like pretentious, then I think it worked. I think the whole film worked.
Right.
That's all. Not. You're not making Avatar.
No, we are not making Avatar. So I want to. Yeah.
I think it worked as a production decision. What with the fact that we really didn't have any good sound equipment.
No.
And so I think it was a much better choice to go with no sound and work with the visual acting and the cinematography rather than actually try and put bad sound over it, which
I totally agree with that. I want to move right along here because we do have quite a bit of things to go on off of. This next one, when we first made this, I said everything bad against it. I said that it was an awful film. I did not like it, mainly because of the ending. But again, like Cliché, I think it's like a fine wine. You let it age for a little bit, and it actually turns out pretty well. This one was probably our award-winning film. This was Love Consulting. Now, Dylan, with a lot of, Brennan, with a lot of these, you helped wrote these, you helped write these films, and would you care to explain why I was confused during this film? What the story is?
No.
I
mean, no. I was like, why am I explaining why you were confused?
Well, okay, fair enough. Here's why
I think the twist ending was Brooke's idea, because I don't think that would have come out of my head.
Fair enough.
I mean, I keep bringing up Brooke, but Brooke was a very tempering influence on me also, because she prevented every one of my scripts from going off in the wildest sci-fi direction and making you memorize an entire script in conlang.
Okay.
Which, I would not have had the skill to carry out at the time, given my conlanging skills back then.
Mm-hmm.
What? I didn't even know that.
No.
Basic Neo-Grammarian sound change.
Right. The reason why I was confused, the plot of it is these two very cliche type of geeks want to get dates for a school dance. They start a love consulting service at school. This really ditzy type of girl comes to them, explaining these two people that they think is them, but when they come back and they give her this ridiculous advice, and she goes off, and they get a reply back from her saying, "Oh, it worked. I was able to take them both out." And she was actually referring the whole time to two horses and not the two guys at all. Dylan, you're laughing at it. Why do you think that that worked? And like I said, this was our highest award-winning film.
It was.
Yeah, we
I
tied.
think Cliche was.
We tied for the audience award with this one at the New Hampshire Short Film High School Festival. Why do you think this worked?
I don't know. I didn't really understand the film, so I was a little confused. I'm kind of in. Yeah, no, I don't know. I can't answer that.
Christy, your thoughts?
My thoughts. I do have a question actually. Is trying to get a date for a school dance but not getting one, is that by any chance based on your actual life story?
But
Good one, Christy.
Christy, maybe we haven't established this, but I'm the only one who gets to drag Daniel on this show.
yes, by the way, I don't think you've met Christy. This is Brennan. Brennan, this is Christy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of good lines in this. I think from both of us, because you and I are the main characters in it, and again, it was a high school film. I mean, there was not much you can else say about it, but I think it did work, and it's a lot of fun. I now realize that it was a lot of fun making it, and I definitely consider that a good film.
Oh yeah, I definitely had fun with it.
Oh yeah. After that, I wanted to break out and do something of my own because you and Brooke Solomon, who I do keep in contact with sometimes, and she's doing well from what I've heard. I wanted to break away because you two were kind of writing things. I wanted to write something myself. So
You can say I was an oppressive influence on your creative mind. It's okay.
Absolutely. So I wanted to go ahead, and then this was where I started my company, the continuation idea of making my own version of a said franchise. And one of them was the spark of a thing I did every year pretty much so far. And the spark was not really that good of a spark, but it was still a starting point. I started a Halloween tradition of doing a Halloween version of The Twilight Zone. So yes, the Halloween versions of The Twilight Zone. It started back in high school, and I had always loved The Twilight Zone. I always wanted to make my own version, and I thought the creepiness of the show would tie into the holiday. The one in high school was not that good. I'm not afraid to say that because we were kind of working with pretty much nothing. We had a very hard schedule making it. Brennan, you weren't personally part of this one. I did have you do like a small voiceover later on, but you weren't really necessarily part of this one. And I think you're glad to not be really part of it because it really wasn't that good. But with this one, I basically wrote an original Halloween-themed story and then parodied one from the feature film Twilight Zone. And ever since then, even though this was very bad, I continued to make one. I made one back at NHTI. And then Dylan, you and I made two of them at Keene State. Now, you're a horror guy. Do you think that having, first of all, Halloween and Twilight Zone mix well? And what do you have to take away from the experiences of the two Twilight Zones that we made?
Of course it was good. Obviously, some could have been a little bit better. You didn't have to text me in class, remember that. Yeah, no, but phone conversations aside, yeah, it was good. It was fun. It was, I got to experiment. It was my first adaptation, and doing someone else's made. In this case, Mr. Rod Serling. And you know what? It was just a good time. Oh,
Yeah.
Why not?
Now, Christy, you've also been involved with the Twilight Zone film. I think the most recent one. Do you think having Halloween and the Twilight Zone mix well? And did you have fun being in that movie?
it was interesting. I mean, being hungover making it wasn't the best, but I mean, it was a reasonably fun experience.
And Brennan, we'll go back to you real quick. Do you think that having like the show, The Twilight Zone, and then the holiday of Halloween, do they connect fairly well, you think?
I mean, I'm a Halloween fan to the point that I will do Halloween at any time of year. So I don't worry about such calendrical minutiae. But yeah, I think that the Twilight Zone is definitely creepy and I can play it. And so it's a good Halloween tradition, but I'm a proponent of year-round Halloween with a pause for Christmas.
Fair enough. I can agree to that. So even though that first one was very bad, I made 3 more so far, and they are 10 times better. I can promise you that. The first one, if you want to see a really bad episode, by all means go for it. But the other,
Daniel is self-deprecating. Wow.
I'm not afraid to do that.
Wow.
You have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. This first one is really not that good. The next film that we had the first triumphant return of Mr. Corrigan there was one, there we go. There's a nice trumpet there.
Here I come to save the day.
Ooh, nice reference.
I don't even remember what that's from. My dad used to say that all the time.
Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse.
That works.
Was our first attempt into doing a drama thing. If you count Cliche, a silent film, Love Consulting, a comedy or a rom-com maybe, Twilight Zone, creepy, this was our first drama film. This one was Winter Betrayal. We didn't really even have a theme song to try to make that dramatic. This one was about basically these 4
Criminal negligence.
criminal negligence. Yeah. These 4 teenagers go on a hike on a snowy mountain. 2 of them decide to pull a little prank on one student, ending up in his death, and we find out it's a murder investigation. And Brennan, you play a cop.
I do play a cop. I played a cop for all of one scene.
Yeah, and you actually got to interrogate me. So tell me about this film and how you felt about it.
I mean, I had fun with it. I think that we could have taken lessons from Cliche and Love Consulting in that the genres that we do well in with the resources that we have are kind of lean more towards the tongue-in-cheek and or the low budget, because quite literally that's what we had. And so I think we had fun with it. I don't think it's something that we should have taken on without maybe a group of actors, including myself, who had better acting chops for the dramatic work,
Right. We just got our warning here, so we are going to take a commercial break pretty soon. But Christy, we'll go to you next on this.
Sponsorship?
What's that?
Sponsorship for this?
Yeah, well, sort of. Christy, having a police drama type of a thing, do you think that would work for a high school film or not?
Well, it can always work for just about anybody. It's fine. I mean, yeah, I mean, it could work, and I mean, anything can work depending on, if you're committed, and if it's actually a drama and not a comedy and not unintentionally funny,
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And Dylan, just from the previous three things that we've described, do you think this was a good idea to make, or do you think maybe that it was a little too much?
Oh, you were trying something new. Obviously, from a technical standpoint, things could have been better. But I mean, you never know. That's one thing about filmmaking. Just try to expand your horizons, and well, you can't fault someone for trying, right?
Right, absolutely. And that's really all it is. It's all about trying. Now, that was you can back me up on this, Brennan. I think that was pretty much the supposed nail in the coffin for when we made films, because that was pretty much our last one that we made.
Oh yeah.
But there were still few glimmers of hope after Winter Betrayal, and they were really just all for ridiculous fun. Half the time, I didn't even know what was going on. And when I say that, I mean we went as far as to even make a parody music video. I had no idea why we made this, but this was during a filmmaking class, actually. And the song is a classic, but we made it dark. This is for you, Dylan. We actually took this classic song and turned it into a stalker.
Oh, right. Yeah. This is the.
What?
Is this where you pretended to be or is this where you were a stalker?
Yes, this is the stalker music video, and you'll know the song once you hear it.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
I promise that was not a Rickroll. That was the actual song we did. We'll do a quick round thing because I don't want to dwell on this one. Dylan, let's go to you first.
I don't want to draw on this one, and I wasn't a part of it.
I don't think any of us want to, really.
Then why are we doing it?
All joking aside, it really can be perceived as a stalker song, sort of, but do you think that was a good idea to make it that way? Quick thoughts.
Stay away from a girl's jacket, please.
Oh, yeah.
Please. That's all I'm gonna say.
Daniel, I mean,
Brennan, to you.
what were your goals with?
You know,
What were
honestly,
your goals with this film?
I did
Was
not
it
have
to
any
point
goals.
out the weirdness of the song, or
Yes, I believe so. I believe that would maybe be the perceived goal.
well, if that was the goal, then yeah, you pulled it off, but
Like that.
at the expense of the fact that I will always have a mental image of you in a trench coat with an axe.
Crowbar. It was a crowbar.
Crowbar, right? Of course, a practical weapon from more civilized age.
Christy, again, same question to you. It can be perceived as kind of like, you know, that obsessive girl, obsessed about a girl type of song. But do you think maybe making a music video out of that was a good idea?
Well, it was an interesting twist on the whole thing. I'll say that.
Yeah, pretty much that's all you can say. You know, there were a couple mini things in there. I helped out with another guy's documentary that was on Charles Schultz one time, and then we even put in a PSA about distracted driving, which was kind of fun. But I think if Winter Betrayal was the...
I'm sorry, distracted what?
Driving.
I'm sorry, that was a joke. It didn't land.
If Winter Betrayal was the second to last nail in the coffin, this was definitely the final nail. We went ahead, for this final project of this film class, we made a film. This is what the teacher said: make a 9-minute version of a popular movie. And without me even lifting a finger or saying a word, the class voted, and they decided to do, I kid you not, for some reason, yeah, for some reason they chose Chronicles of Narnia. You can't make that again.
You can make
Now,
it
see-
into something really funny, though.
Well, that's the thing. It did turn out really funny because literally the giant house that the kids live in is the school. That's what we used. There is no wardrobe. We used a work shed outside. They actually made me the Mr. Tumnus character.
Weren't you Father Christmas?
I was Father Christmas too, which made no sense at all. Picked the shortest, thinnest person there. And
Since when did Santa Claus start giving out weapons?
yeah, true.
Not that's just in general for all of Narnia.
Arlo,
When-
Narnia, yeah.
Dylan, you and I don't hang out with the same people. If you have to ask that question,
Me.
I'm the one who was showing off my battle axe that I won in a knife throwing competition before the
Before the show.
show started.
yeah, but imagine a 5-year-old asking Santa, "Hey Santa, can I have an automatic rifle?"
True, very true. But I'll say that
It's just
the one
so funny.
grace about this movie, the one saving grace, is the end fight scene because it's so stupid and so ridiculous.
Nice drone shot, I'll give you that.
Nice drone shot, yeah. There were
Oh, yeah, was I part of that? I seem to remember
more part of that.
a drone and a whole bunch of foam swords.
There were foam swords, there were spears, there were shields, and there, of course, were lightsabers. Yes, they have lightsabers in Narnia. Christy,
Yeah, but no phasers. Uh-huh.
no phasers,
uh-huh.
yeah, no phasers.
uh-huh.
Christy, we'll go to you first on this. Very quick thoughts. Just by saying that, you were saying that you can, if it's done right, it can be funny, and yes, it turned out funny, but was it almost too much?
No, it definitely could be. I think honestly that's a really funny concept, and I mean, Daniel, you're acting like it's kind of a problem, but well,
Problem.
I'll-
Problem.
it is a problem.
This whole film is a problem.
Well, let me tell you this, Daniel. If you were going to pick, I think I could only think of like 3 different types of movies that you would pick. So, I mean, at least these people broadened their horizons, you know.
Yeah.
Fair
He's
enough.
got a point.
Well, you know what? We're actually running low on time here, so we're gonna go play our PSA here real quick, and we'll be right back on As the Reel Turns. The one thing that we're doing here on Zoom is that we actually might lose the meeting, but you know what? I'll call you guys all back. That's what's gonna happen. So we'll be right back on As the Reel Turns. Here's our public service announcement. Don't go anywhere.
There, Mr. Chipmunk.
Oh, hey, Ranger. What are you doing?
Some people left a fire burning. I was just putting it out.
Oh, for Pete's sake, I hate that. If you start a fire, you put it out. I'm a chipmunk, and I understand that.
You sound angry.
I am angry. People are being careless.
I know, but
What?
let go of my leg.
Oh, sorry.
You start a fire, you put it out. A public service message brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service. You stay forest during the ad count.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. My name is Dan Soletti. This is As the Reel Turns. We're talking about projects that we've made, projects that we've touched, series, movies, anything like that. I'm joined by Dylan and Christy and special guest Brennan. Guys, we've talked about quite a few films that we've made, stuff that has stayed alive for a long time, like the Twilight Zone, and some things that had one-off things like Winter Betrayal and Chronicles of Narnia. There has been one project ever since Brennan, you and I were in high school that I tried to get made for years. We had it set at one point, and then it fell through on us. And then I went through, I think, 5 more attempts until I get a successful 6th attempt, and then that's the one that goes. Today it is still surviving. I hope to be making a sequel some point in life. I know that we tried to make a sequel, you and me, Dylan, but it just never came through right now. I am talking about the one parody film I wanted to make. I'm talking about Bond. Jane Bond. So, yes, Jane Bond. It was a character that was created and basically pitched as a big James Bond parody. Brennan, you and I wrote this first script together. What was Jane Bond about?
Jane Bond, if I remember the plot that I wrote, was that Jane Bond is essentially the next 00 agent, 007 agent. Was that correct?
On that, yeah.
She was in the organization at least, and she was up against this villain who was to be played had everything gone smoothly by yours truly, who was attempting to cause a global climate crisis in the other direction to what we are currently experiencing, so that he could sell special cold-resistant tomatoes
Yes.
at
That was it.
outrageous prices.
We had
I had a whole techno-babble monologue that I wrote for myself. It was very self-indulgent about like shooting like aerosol canisters into the upper atmosphere to reflect sunlight. It was not writing that I look back on fondly.
Well, you know,
Why don't you just
Like I
change the
was
title to
in
Jane
98.
Bond Goes Green?
kind of.
Because I feel like Daniel was adamant about titling at that point.
Hey, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going green, save the environment. But, I
I
mean,
wanted a bonding sound of title. But yes, that was essentially the plot. And we talked about her before the break. We had Brooke Solomon originally in the role, and then just things fell through, and timing and people just didn't really work out. So, and it was kind of losing interest, but I still wanted to make it. So I kind of took it under my wing, and I went through multiple attempts until I finally bumped into a coworker at Books A Million one day, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to play this role. You want to be in it?" And she said, "Sure." And so we got it all together, and we shot it at HDI, and it came out so well. I was so happy about it. Christy, we'll go to you. Going from the plot that Brennan gave and the idea of having a James Bond parody named Jane Bond, do you think it would work? Because I saw that it worked.
Well, yeah, it could work. I mean,
Sure.
that is an interesting idea. However, one question I do have for you is that Daniel, that's kind of rude. You just offered her a role after bumping into your coworker. You didn't even have the decency to apologize.
I use that term figuratively. Dylan, you and Christy are both big James Bond fans. We did our big James Bond special on this show. Having this opposite type of a thing that we're going through right now, like Brennan said, be a James Bond plot, and I threw in a whole bunch of jokes like referencing Bond. Do you think that would make a good film?
I mean, you can't go heavy-handed with the references, but one thing I do like is her hair changing in every scene.
That's true. It did become a running joke when I made this. That
Are you going to give her a Playgirl club card too and have her make out with herself?
we were gonna do that. But
Sure,
yeah,
Jane Bond is extremely fashionable, and all of those changes were.
Yeah. they were all meant to be.
Because those would be funny references, at least in my opinion.
They would be. And that is the thing. We didn't realize that it would become a running joke that her hair changed, but we kept shooting on different days, so that's what happened. Through this time, we kept making Twilight Zones, like I said before. Excuse me, and like I also said, that first Twilight Zone was never the best, and I'm not afraid to say that. And another film that again sounded really good on paper, but was only okay on screen, I'd say, was a film that showcased one of the triumphant returns of Brennan Corrigan. This was a film that we made, I think, during the summer, and it was a film that I wanted to make because you and I are big fans of this, and I said, let's do it. I said, let's make a Star Trek film, and I said, let's call it Star Trek: The Quest for Kirk. Yeah, Star Trek: The Quest for Kirk.
Daniel, I have to ask.
Can I ask you to?
Do you still believe in Romulans?
I do still believe in Romulans, yes. This was basically, like I just said, this was a film I wanted to make because you and I are both big Star Trek fans. And the idea was basically these newly made cadets, they want to go find Captain Kirk, who has been kidnapped by Romulans. And I have this ridiculous line that I say, we're at war with the Romulans. They don't exist. And you say, you don't believe in Romulans?
Yeah, I thought it was backwards. I thought it was the Romulans, and I said, I'm pretty sure the line that I ad-libbed was, you believe in Romulans?
Yeah. And and basically the majority of the film was us being in front of a green screen, and I put us into a old attraction that used to be at Universal. This was a real thing where people would come and be basically put into a made Star Trek adventure, and even my mom did it when she was at Universal one time. So it is a real thing. You can find these videos up on YouTube. Christy, you're a big Star Trek fan. How would you feel being in a Star Trek movie? And do you think that it would require a little bit more than what we put in, maybe?
Yeah, probably. And yeah, definitely. I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan, but I'm a decent fan of it.
Right. And Dylan, you're a fan as well. What do you think?
I think I'll watch the motion picture instead.
Fair enough.
And that's saying something.
Yeah. I mean,
Is my comedic presence not enough to save it for you?
No.
The ears, yes.
The ears, yes. Do you still have those ears?
Technically, yes.
I remember I gave you some Vulcan ears.
Yeah, I did not bring them to Ohio with me, but they still exist somewhere in my house.
But again, there's always a silver lining to these things. Like, the Romulans line is a classic line. And I'm actually very proud. Well, okay, I won't say I'm very proud of this.
I didn't even expect that you were going to put that in the movie. Like, that was a one-off joke, and then you were just like, you know what? It's totally reasonable for this crew member just to not believe in Romulans and think they're a conspiracy theory concocted by the Klingons to depress the Federation economy.
Oh, dear. Oh, God.
But there was one thing about this film that was kind of unique. There's a part in it where you and I are almost to the point where we can rescue Kirk, and there's a point where I'm calling for reinforcements because we need more crew members, and I wanted to get a bunch of people to be in the film, like make cameos sort of, and so I contacted a whole bunch of people, and I say, look, I want you to do something for me. I want you to send me a 2-second clip of you saying "I serve," because I say, "Are you with me?" and they say, "I serve." And I got about 7 or 8 people, and they didn't know what it was for. That's the thing. They had no idea what this was for. They could have thought it was a Navy movie for all I know.
Down Periscope Part 2.
I don't know, maybe. But
you could have been starting a cult and needed some people for the introductory video.
That's absolutely true. But when I showed them the finished product, they said, "Oh my gosh, you put me in a Star Trek movie? How dare you!" I actually had one guy, I showed it to him, and he said, "You traitor! You tricked me into being in a Star Trek movie."
I have a feeling of who that was.
It wasn't you.
Yeah, I know it wasn't me, but I feel like I know who you're talking about.
Okay. However, we actually shot that on the same day as a better film. We shot a better film on that day as well, and this was your big return to filmmaking with me. For years, you and I wanted to make an adventure film. We actually concocted this idea of having a librarian-style film, the trilogy with Noah Wyle and series and stuff like that. But you came to me one day and you said, "No, I'm not doing that idea. I scrapped
self-indulgent linguist crack."
Yeah, that's basically what you pitched it as. What you came to me with was something just as good, I'd say, and it did work. We made a film called Jerome Cooper, Adventuring Linguist.
always thought if I had personal theme music, there would be more drums.
So yes, Jerome Cooper, Adventuring Linguist. Brennan, this was your project, so tell us about it.
This was my project. Daniel handed me the creative reins pretty much totally on this one, and basically allowed me to write a archaeological / heist movie, where I basically just got to info dump about historical linguistics, and that was very kind of him. And I got to wear my hat, which I received a really interesting compliment about that hat recently. Someone said it fits me like 8 legs on a spider, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get a better compliment than that.
That's good. I like
I take it as a compliment.
I take that as a compliment, yeah. I enjoyed this one. I got to play kind of a slightly goofy villain, which was kind of fun. And Dylan, we'll go to you. Having a linguist-centered adventurer like Indiana Jones or Flynn Carson or anything like that, do you think that would work? Keep in mind you have the writer right here.
Well, it's a movie that's written...
Drag me, Dylan.
What?
Drag me, Dylan.
No, I'm not going to drag it. I'm saying it's a movie written for Brennan. You can't play it. You couldn't play it, Daniel. I couldn't play it. None of us could play it. It's a movie written for Brennan. And hey, getting chased by a medicine ball. I mean, how many people can say that?
No, that was fun.
That was fun.
The Russian guy was cool.
The Russian guy was fun. That was a good friend of mine, Eric, who was willing to do a Russian accent for us. But yeah, the medicine ball chase was clearly a Raiders of the Lost Ark reference, which I...
Speaking of, they're playing all the Indiana Jones movies on TV right now.
I saw that, yeah.
And yes, I've been watching them.
I said to Brennan, I said, "There's the spider, very nice." I said to Brennan, I said, you got to put this scene in there because that'll make the film. Christy, having like this is essentially an Indiana Jones parody, essentially. Think that you would ever? What would be your idea of an Indiana Jones parody?
Exactly what you think.
Exactly what I think. What is that?
Pretty much just parodying the Boulder scene and pretty much anything written by actually competent writers.
Okay, fair enough. So with that was kind of the last one I did before coming off to Keen, and I want to make.
I can't tell if that was the drag that I invited or if that was a Crystal Skull joke.
But I want to make this a bit of a segue now to Dylan, because Dylan, let's talk about your company now, which is Ramen Head Media. I personally know you're a horror guy, but but you want to delve into other things. So tell us about your company.
Well, I mean, my little production company, my YouTube channel, link in the description, will be. I used to focus on horror, and then I got into experimental films, pretty much weird, trippy, mind screw films. Then I've made my Hallmark movies about my kittens because come on, right, Christy?
Yes.
Cat lovers, both of us. I've been trying to do some more like mystery films, more like thriller. I've gone back and forth. I mean, horror will always be my route, and that's just what I specialize in. And I want to focus on I write, direct, produce, but I also want to help other people produce their own films. I want to write a script for someone else. I want someone to write a script for me and see where I go there. And just it's a good little company and get a ton of views. Oh, I also do like video essays. I've always wanted to do a music video. I did I have a few ideas, but yeah, video essay. I did one on like Stranger Things. I have some others lined up. I don't know when I'll get to do them though, but yeah, no, it's all good.
Right, and you.
What I specialize in.
You've worked a lot with Christy, and Christy, you have a company too, and you've made a few things.
Yeah, I don't really have a company. It's just a placeholder name. Poorly made pictures. It's not even anything. It's nothing. But I've made a couple of different movies. One me and Dylan made, which I'm very proud of, called the 8-ball assassination, in which I get killed with an 8-ball.
You made me a
Thrown-
celebrity.
Yes, congratulations, Dylan. And I also am currently working on a film. It's pretty much done. It just hasn't been published yet. It's a film called Movie Night that I made with my best friend Brendan, and he is and it's just an overall interesting experimental type film.
Very nice. And I mean, Brendan, you and I have worked on all these films that we've pretty much discussed so far. But have you made anything yourself personally without me or anybody else, with other people?
Not in the film arena.
Not in the okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, I always am up for something, and I got a few more ideas cooking in my head because to go along with my company of Continuation Pictures, which I said before. Basically, we take a franchise and we make our own original story out of it, and we continue it.
Thank you.
We continue it. We make it our own, and we have fun with it. This last film I want to say before we go on to our final topic, again, was not the finest work that I had a thing in, and Dylan knows it. Christy knows it. Pretty much all of Keene State knows it. I think everybody but you, Brennan, knows about this. I love live action cartoon hybrids, you know, Roger Rabbit, Space Jam, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Rocky and Bullwinkle. I love those.
Avatar.
I love all those, but and so I would love to be in one someday. And so I had this idea put on paper, and it sounded really good on paper, but when it came to fruition, it just didn't work. And we all know it didn't work. I wanted to do something called Sight of the Pink Panther. This is one I don't want to dwell on again too much because I know it's bad. It's the idea of, you know, the famous Pink Panther diamond gets brought to this school, and this ridiculous French investigator finds out it's stolen and tracks it down, while finding out that the thief is the Pink Panther himself. Now that sounds really good on paper, and it gives you a lot of opportunities to, you know, put the Panther into real life and stuff like that. But again, it just didn't work. The effects were okay. Some weren't so good at all. With being nice, Dylan, give me your idea, because you were in this briefly, and we all know it's bad. I know it's bad. You know it's bad. Why is it bad?
Because it's bad.
I mean, is it the story? Is it the effects? What is it?
Everything.
Everything. Christy,
I've seen your effects. I've seen your effects in Doctor Who, and trying to do that on an entire movie scale, I feel like would be intimidating, to say the least.
yeah. I mean, you've never seen this, Brennan, personally, but I mean, I wouldn't recommend this. And you just did reference our last topic, so we'll get to that in a minute. But Christy, you know, do you think some things can sound pretty good on paper, but when put on film like this, just don't work?
Yes, and considering this film was, I'm going to be honest, Daniel. When is the last time you put anything? What is the last time anything that any of your good ideas on paper have translated well into film?
Quite a few, actually. Thank you.
Okay.
Quite a few. And Brennan did just reference one of the good ideas that actually worked and is hopefully still going on as soon as we get out of this COVID nebula. Probably the most successful thing that we've done, that I've done, we all of us have participated in it somehow, either writing, acting in it, whatever. This is probably one of the best things we've ever made. This is Doctor Who School Days. Yes, Doctor Who School Days. This is one of those ideas again where I originally wanted to make this back in high school, but it just never worked out. I came up with this quirky idea to have a clone of the famous Doctor from Doctor Who regenerate into this student form and go off and have his own adventures. And Brennan, we'll go to you first because you helped me out in this first season. It was kind of ridiculous at some point, at multiple points actually, but this really did work because we made 9 episodes in the first season alone, and you were in one of them. You got to play the Master, and that was one of the highly rated episodes. So what do you think of Doctor Who School Days?
I thought it was pretty fun. I think you might have to prompt me a little bit more than that, though, because it has been a while, but I enjoyed doing it.
Right, you actually were. Yeah, you played the Master in a Christmas episode with another.
I did, yes.
And I wanted to have the challenge of having the Doctor regenerate in every single episode. So we had about. I'm up to I think 17 Doctors and counting. How
many Time Lords have you killed? just outright. Like, they only have so many of those things.
Yeah. I initially wanted to make this just a mini-series and just have it one season and off, but I thought, we could do some more with this, and that's where Dylan, you come into play, because you came in the second season playing one of the Zygons, Zygon Bob. So yes, the infamous Bob Reed.
Jealous?
Tell us about Zygon Bob and Doctor Who School Days.
I love Zygon Bob. You never see his face. Well, you do, but he always has the mask, and sometimes he has the cool hat. Always after Amber, the pretty girl.
Did you have fun with it though?
I did. Well, the thing about Doctor Who is, it's what the hell. Yeah. None of it makes sense, but I mean, come on.
You can have some repeating themes going on, but
I liked it.
It was a lot of fun. And Christy, you came in at the very end of the second season and started off the third, and you've done a couple episodes. What do you think of the series?
Well, I'll say this: it's definitely fun to make and whatnot. But if you're going to try to get in touch with a big movie company, Daniel, please don't use this as a reference point.
I mean, we're on our third season, so I don't know.
Sexy.
What's that?
On
Sexy.
what budget?
Yeah. I mean, again, you have to keep in mind, at the time this was made, I was at NHTI, so this is a college film. I mean, it's for flat out fun, and half the time, I think all of us know pretty much what we're talking about when we say Doctor Who, but a lot of these people I put in had no idea, and they end up having a great time with it, which is a lot of fun. So we're pretty much at the end of the show, guys. I know I want to go have some final thoughts go around. For me, I know that I'm working on a few things. I want to continue season 3 of Doctor Who. I have some films in mind for when we get out of the nebula here, and certainly one thing I do want to finish making is a show called 18. If you're a fan of 24, I made a 18 show that, ever since we got out of school, I have to remake it now, the first episode. So this is a cry for help. I mean, I hope you guys can help in some way, because I love you guys, and I really want to make another film with you or something. But if anyone wants to help out, just let me know, which is a lot of fun. Christy, we'll go to you next. Any final thoughts on the projects we've made and anything in the future coming for you?
Well, all I have to say is I think it's a good time to retire.
Okay.
Totally kidding.
Dylan, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, it's a couple of films I just uploaded a new film, Isolation.
Yep.
Check that out. Also have another film I'm venturing into the body horror genre. It's called Floss. You'll see what it's about. And just maybe a few more experimental, maybe obviously another horror. That will never go away. I do have some, I want to delve into like the crime, like neo-noir genre. And I know we didn't get to talk much, but I say my favorite film is Nightfall, my vampire film.
And quickly, what's the name of your channel again?
Ramen Head Media.
Ramen Head Media. And Brennan, any final thoughts from you?
I would say that I've had a great time doing all these films with you, and that I do hope you continue to enjoy yourself.
Well, that's the thing about filmmaking. Just let loose.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my philosophy with everything nowadays, is that, like, you got to be able to enjoy things no matter how they turn out, right?
That's a good philosophy, and I like that. And I thank you guys for helping me out with all of these. It's been a great run, and I hope we can do more. So it is our radio show, and it is time to play our favorite game in the whole world. It's time for Who Are You?
Brennan, save yourself. Just leave.
All right, so who are you? Basically, we play a game where I play a clip for you, and you have to tell me who it is and or what it is from. We got two people in this scene, so if you can name both people, that's good. If not, you can just tell me what it's from. Gentlemen, here's your clip. Best of luck.
I've never seen purple underwear before, Calvin.
Calvin, why do you keep calling me Calvin?
Well, that is your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein? It's written all over your underwear. Oh, I guess they call you Cal.
Fifth Element?
All right. First of all, that was your clip, and Brennan, we'll go to you first. What is that, and who it is? Who is it? Sorry.
Is that the Fifth Element? And I don't remember who.
All right. You say Fifth Element. Okay.
Yeah.
Christy, we'll go to you.
Oh, that's easy. That's Marty McFly and his mother in the past in Back to the Future.
Okay. Dylan, who is that, and or what is it from?
That's Marty and Lorraine from Back to the Future.
All right.
Michael J. Fox and oh my God, what's her name? Yeah, never mind. Yeah,
Leah Thompson.
Leah Thompson. Thank you.
All right, and the points today go to Dylan and Christy. That is Marty and Lorraine from Back to the Future. Brennan, don't worry, the points don't matter. Just like everything else in the world. Just like sight of Pink Panther, it doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah.
So
That
guys,
will always be a stain on your record.
that's right.
Dobby has lost the points in Master's Game. Dobby must punish himself.
nice Dobby reference. All right, guys. Hey, I want to thank Dylan and Christy for coming on as usual. Brennan, it has been a pleasure having you on. Like I said at the beginning, we've been trying to get you on, but I'm so happy you came on. It's hard to believe next week will be our last show. I am freaked out, sort of. But as BB said in For Your Eyes Only, it won't be farewell, it'll only just be goodbye, because I hope to bring this show back with a bigger station. It's our last show, so it'll be our year-end review. Brennan, you're more than welcome to join us. We'll be talking about actual movies that were made, if you would like to join us. And I hope
You'll have to find a movie that I am familiar with.
I can send you a list. I want to, and Dylan, Christy, I hope you come on. So,
I'll be there.
guys, thank you so much for coming. My name is Daniel Soletti. This has been As the Real Turns. We'll be back next week. Here is our end theme. Have a great day.
That's all, folks.
Hey guys, Daniel Soletti here. Hope you enjoyed that episode of As the Real Turns. All the projects that we talked about today, stuff that I've been in, stuff that Brennan's been in, and some of the stuff that Dylan and Christy have been in, can all be found here on Daniel TVS. Just go to playlists and find out for yourself and enjoy them. because they're really, really good. You'll like them. Thanks for watching, and here's to the last episode.